Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my Ema. Ema. Hello, Ema.
Yes, you know me. We
I know
remember me,
you.
don't you?
I
Yes,
kind of
yes.
do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Your poor mother who's
oh,
struggling down here in the colds of Florida. Such a horrible, horrible cold wave hit. It went all the way down to 65 degrees.
just the worst. Just the worst. So today's topic is going to be something a little more sensitive. So we do apologize to our listeners, and we hope that, everything will be okay. But we're talking about the situation of reconciling the dichotomy between Torah values and sexual orientation. Um, what that's really talking about is a lot of people in this world are gay, lesbian, bi, transgender, etc. And there's still, feeling like you want to be closer to God and you want to be closer to your practicing, Judaism or Christianity or Islam or whatever you do, and trying to reconcile those two differences because of the way the Torah is brought up and the importance of Torah values. It seems to be going against that notion. Um, Now, we have a lot to unpack here, but I just wanted to talk about first, um, just, I have some personal experience from friends and family, um, you know, coming out and being gay or lesbian, or being even transgender, and the struggles that they went through. Um, a transgender friend of mine was telling me how he used to cry uh, at the age of 15, wishing he was a woman. And now he's in transition and he changed his name and everything. And he was telling me even what other rabbis were saying and what he can do and can't do. And then I have a few friends who are gay and bi, and they have their own struggles and strifes. And there are plenty of stories that I know and my mother would share of my aunt who's a lesbian, my cousin who's a lesbian, and how they correlate that to Judaism. And that's something that's, I guess, with the real focus on today's topic. So Ima, you want to take it away?
Well, as you were talking, I know that there are from people out there who, when when faced with realizing someone in their family or one of their friends happens to be gay or lesbian, probably would totally cut off their relationship entirely and have nothing whatsoever to do with them. And I don't feel that way. I mean, I have acquaintances, I have friends, I have relatives that are gay and lesbian, and even though, okay, I know, okay, we all know the Torah is against that lifestyle. However, these are people that I appreciate them for who they are as human beings. And I remember when your cousin, who's a lesbian, I invited her and her girlfriend and their kids to, I think it was your wedding. And when they came in, I could tell her girlfriend was, I could tell she was frightened in a way. She was probably worried about how I was going to greet or accept her. And when they came into the hall, I walked over to them. I said I was so happy that they came to the wedding because they lived, quite a distance away. They had to fly in, and I was glad they brought the girls with them. They have two girls that my my niece gave birth to through artificial insemination, and of course the girls are totally Jewish. In fact, my niece went to a synagogue and she named them, and and I came. I said how pretty the girls looked. I'm so happy they brought them. And then I walked over to my niece's partner and I said, I am so happy you came here. Welcome. And I gave her a big hug. And I could tell she like relaxed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, this is the thing is like, I think this is an open-ended question which, you know, is something that cannot be at this point. You know, there's no right or wrong answer. I think there's a very big gray area here where these are your friends, you know, these are, like I said, people that you appreciate for the relationship. And my concern, though, like we discussed before, as far as the gay and lesbian movement is concerned, and this should also be a very, very strong concern to anybody who's gay and lesbian, is if a person is genuinely gay or lesbian, and people I know who are gay and lesbians have told me that they knew from the time they were 3 years old, they knew they were gay or lesbian. So if someone's genuinely gay or lesbian, they should not have to live their life in secrecy. They should not have to be afraid. They should be able to, you know, live their life as any, you know, with the full rights and lack of fears of any free individual. But what is concerned to me is the activism. We know how teenagers think. And as teenagers, we know that we all go through a period of time where we have doubts about our sexuality. My concern is teenagers who see all this attention being given to gays or lesbians. In other words, they're being, sometimes the media will put these people up as like heroes, and oh, how, you know, good that you are honest about yourself and you've come out of the closet. And let's face it, a teenager will see this and see all the attention they're getting, and hey, you know, I want to be part of this too. And we know people can condition themselves. We know
Okay.
this all that we do this all the time. If we want to change some sort of habit, either whether it's quit smoking, whether it's take on a healthier lifestyle of losing weight, a healthier diet, we work to condition ourselves. And I think that there are a lot of, I think not a lot, I don't have statistics, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were an appreciable number of teenagers who wanted to be part of this and actually are conditioning themselves to, and they're talking themselves into being gay or lesbian when they actually clinically and genuinely are not.
So I'd have to disagree with you on that because, you know, a
How
lot.
dare you disagree with me? Who gave you permission to disagree with me? I'm your mother.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
supposed to disagree with me.
Of course, just blindly obey. That's what we're supposed to do, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
So the whole point is that a lot of times people don't really figure out their sexuality until they're a teenager, because that's really when their sexuality really starts coming about. You know, you have some people that like knew they were gay since they were 3, but some people don't think of sex in that light. It's really only when they become teenagers do they start finding themselves. And sometimes it's important to you know, travel, right? It's important to explore and find new things. It's important to do that because when you do that, you learn more about yourself. And it's, of course, there might be some, you know, appeal to it because you're getting attention, and everyone loves attention. But to really understand, you know, homosexuality and the LGBTQ plus community, you know, there are people there that would want to find out, to see, well, maybe I am, because now they have the opportunity to explore. But imagine having that feeling of, I might be gay at the age of 15, but you're in the 1950s. We're going to get electric shock therapy if they find out that you're doing anything like that, which was a true story that actually happened.
Well, actually, worse than that, in the 1950s, up until actually fairly recently, you had a lot of states where homosexuality was an offense and you could be arrested.
See, and then again, that's just ridiculous. You have to let people explore themselves, and you have to let people be themselves. I know it goes against the Torah and Torah values, so I can't really promote it or tell them, oh, it's a good job for you, because then that goes against my values as a religious Jew. But I know it seems odd to say and in poor taste, but it's also like, you know, I don't want to say it's a don't ask, don't tell situation, but it's kind of where it's like, in today's day and age, you can't judge another person. You can't tell them that they're a bad person because they do A, B, and C. I mean, there are people that break Shabbos, and if anybody who's a Jew, a religious Jew, knows that Shabbos itself, if you break it, back in the day when they had a Sanhedrin, when they had a full court, it was considered the death penalty, with capital punishment. So we accept people that break Shabbos all the time as part of our fold and part of our people.
Well,
So
the thing is, like we discussed before, you um, you can't apply I say the stringencies of what was during the time of the temple, because during the time of the temple, particularly the first temple, God's presence was so strong and obvious that nobody would even think of going against the Torah. They were on a very, very high spiritual level at that time. So I think people, they say, actually, God, there's an idea that God judges us also based on the whatever historical environment we're living in at the time. So people now would not possibly be judged on the same level as, say, a Jew living during, say, King Solomon's time.
well, so and I understand that, but the thing is also people during the times of the first and second temple were also committing more intense sins than they are today. There was flat out civil wars. There have been civil wars since the beginning of Judaism, and from when time that Moses brought down the tablets, there was civil war then, and then there was a civil war after that, and there was plenty of conflict. So I really think that, to go ahead and say, well, they were more spiritual, more religious at the time. Yes and no. There were people that were probably on the same level as we are. Just that perspective and that comprehension was available to them. And you mentioned earlier about activism, and that you were frustrated with activism in the gay community. The thing is, activism is important and in general, but also in the LGBTQ plus community, it's important because it gives them human rights. That's really what activism is all about. It's not trying to recruit people, blah, 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 that anybody and their mother is trying to be so scared of. It's just trying to be able to get the same rights and respect that any human being should have. And I think that also boils down to what we were saying previously, is that it might be against the Torah, but the other important thing in this world is Avas Chinam, which I think I've mentioned a few times on this podcast. And it's about treating people with respect and loving them for who they are. And I think that's something that I think is very important, because the second temple was destroyed based off of senseless hate. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said the only way to cure and rebuild the Beis HaMikdash and the temple, and to bring the redemption, is to have senseless love, where you love somebody for who they are and not judge them. And I think that's something that I think is more important, because I'm not in your shoes. I only can act the way I can act. If I see a problem, it's something that's within myself that I need to work on. I'm not here to criticize you and tell you what to do. And I think that's really what's the real basis. I think a lot of times that message kind of gets muddied.
Well, you talked about, see, what concerns me with the activism is that men and women marrying and creating families are the building block of any society. And this is why a homosexuality, okay, there's a difference between, like I said, acceptance and recruiting. This is something that, let's put it this way, if somebody is gay or lesbian and genuinely gay and lesbian, okay, that's, they have the right to live their life, like I said, free of worry and without fear of reprisals, and have, the same civil rights, of course, as anybody else. But it's not something we want to encourage.
No one's encouraging. That's the reality, is no one's encouraging it. It's just people being themselves, and sometimes that's just who they are. And because it's so shocking to people, they get offended by it and they want to, you know, unfortunately harm them. And that's the biggest issue, is that there is no recruiting. There's no recruiting involved. You know, I
I don't know.
seriously,
I disagree with you on that because, I mean, I've seen, like, for instance, the gay pride, the parades and everything. Oh boy, let's have a heterosexual pride parade. You know what I mean?
no,
I mean,
it's
and that's what I mean. It's not, and sometimes I go now. You know, I do Spanish on Duolingo, and they're starting to introduce dialogues with gay and lesbian couples involved in the Spanish dialogues. That's what I mean. Like, hey, you know, what are you
this,
doing? Are you trying to, you know, shove this lifestyle down my throat? I mean, there's a difference
no,
between
it's
just quietly living your own private lifestyle and putting it out there, like the books, you know, Heather has two moms
well,
for
it's not putting it out
preschoolers.
there. It's just showing that this is another part of life. It's this is another part of life that exists in this world. And it's not about like shoving it down your throat. It's just more of like, this is something that just exists. That's it. There's
If there
nothing.
are plenties of things that exist, it doesn't mean that we have to put it out there and give it undue attention. Should there be laws against homosexuality? No, of course not. Should homosexuals and gay, you know, lesbians be denied renting an apartment or, yes, because they happen to be gay and lesbian? Of course not. Should they be denied a job? Of course not. Plain and simple.
So
But
why is it that being
should it be promoted?
themselves, it's
But should it
that's
be
not promoted
promoted?
though. That's
No.
not promoted. That is not promoted.
What's
That is
not
not
promoted?
promoted. Showing a picture of two dads or two moms is not promoting it. It's just showing another aspect of life, and that this is also part of life. This is also part of the world. I mean, we have people in our lives that are like that, and we see that on a daily basis anyways. Now we get to see it in the media where it's actually shown. And I'll play the other another aspect of it too. Don't you hate it when you watching movies or TV shows or just seeing things in the media that shows Jewish people in negative light, or it doesn't really show them accurately, or it barely shows them at all when you can tell that clearly they're like a character is Jewish or something like that?
I don't see the
The
correlation.
correlation is as follows, is that just the frustration of the fact that that is not real life, that is not really what is out there. So too that there are people out there with two moms and two dads, and they deserve an opportunity to go ahead and have their aspect and their perspective to be seen.
Well, I don't think, like I said, that you put it out there for, you know, especially preschoolers. Yeah, you don't have to
You
introduce
just
them to
said so
this
yourself
already.
that 3-year-olds already know that they're gay.
Yeah, but
You
they
just
don't.
said so yourself
Yeah,
that they
but you
know that they're
don't.
gay.
Okay, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? You don't have to push it. Okay.
How is it being pushed? How is it just showing an image pushing? How is just
The
showing a simple image pushing?
what I mean in the book. Have you ever read the book Heather Has
Yes.
Two
Heather has two
Moms?
moms. Yes.
Yes, I've read it too, and I'm so, you know, you know that I am a preschool assistant, and you know that I have taught, you know, I'm a teacher. Okay. There's something called age appropriateness, where
But
something
what's
might
age
be the
appropriate about
truth,
it?
something might be the truth, but you don't put it out there for little children. This is something that as they get older, okay, they're going to meet kids like this, whatever. Okay, you know, but they're older and they can, you know, be
But
more of a level to accept and discuss this, but not on a
there's no
preschool
need.
level.
It doesn't matter if it's preschool or not, because a preschooler girl or preschool boy that has two moms or has two dads, you know, is gonna notice it. Is gonna realize something's up, and he's gonna feel like an outsider, feel like he's not part of the of the Hebrew term is kahila. I can't. What's the English term for kahila?
Community.
Okay, that's what it is. Wow, no, geez,
Hmm.
my English was off.
Your English.
English, yeah. So like that's the whole point, is to get these kids that have these situations where they have two moms or two dads to feel like they are part of the community, because it's not about like grabbing everyone else and shoving it down everyone else's throat and saying ha ha ha. Like that's not the point. The point is letting them feel comfortable enough to come out, comfortable enough to to be themselves and comfortable enough to feel like they are part of the community. And that is what the media is all about, is making sure that everybody is included.
Okay, well, listen, and I see your point, but let's put it this way: if if I had a child that was in preschool, I would feel this way about it. If, as a parent, I feel that I want to introduce them to the book, Heather Has Two Moms, that's my personal choice. And if I feel I want to do this at home, fine. But I don't think it's fair to bring it in as a regular curriculum, for everyone there, because you have a lot of parents that are going to feel very uncomfortable about their children being exposed to this knowledge.
But I think we're going in circles here, but that's the whole point, is that it's something that shouldn't be, it should be, I'm not saying part of the curriculum, like you have to do it, like you're studying.
There have been some school curriculums where they actually made it part of the curriculum.
What does that mean, making it part of the curriculum? What does that mean? To learn about the struggles of the LGBTQ plus community?
In preschool, there are some preschools in the country where they actually public schools, where they actually brought these books in for kindergarten, and it was required reading
to talk
for
about
the teacher.
Talk about Stonewall?
What's Stonewall?
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
All right, so Stonewall, it's actually right nearby my brother, where my brother lives, but it's called Stonewall. It was a club in 1969. It's 1969 there was an uprising, and it's an I'm trying to put it into right terms, but it was a LGBT demonstration, because the police were raiding the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, and
it was a gay bar.
I think it was a gay bar. Yeah, and
I'm certainly against the police raiding such a place, because I think it's a free country and free enterprise, and if a bar wants to be a gay bar, go ahead. If that's their clientele, they've got the right to do that.
So basically, that's what happened in the 1960s. That it was illegal, and they were raiding. The cops raided the place, and and that was where they said "fuck no," and they were done being raided, and they fought against it, and it was kind of the whole beginning of the LGBT rights in the United States.
So I just wanted to add one thing. I told you the story about the lady that I met at 7 Mile Market a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good story. That there was a woman I met at 7 Mile Market who was very, very upset, and she kind of opened up to me, and she said she just found out her son was gay, and the way she found out was a shadchana called him up to want to fix him up, and he told the shadchana, "No, please do not fix me up. I'm gay." And when the mother found out that he was gay, she was very, very upset. So I said to her, "You know something?" I said, "I admire your son a lot. He's a very good man." And she almost collapsed when I said that. I mean, her mouth flew open. And I said, "Oh, yes." I said, "I'm not just saying that." I said, "Your son is thinking about others. Your son doesn't want to see anybody put out or inconvenienced because of him. He's being honest about who he is. And he's telling the shadchana right away, don't bother, I'm gay." And I said to her, "You've heard all the stories, I've heard them too, of young men who are closet gays. They're afraid to come out, and some of them will date girls, and with each girl they make up an excuse why the date didn't go well, or they'll even cancel dates minutes before they're supposed to pick the girl up, and here she's already in waiting, or they'll even go ahead and get married and be a closet gay for years and years and years, and then 10 years later and 3 kids later, when they have a whole family, they admit to their wife, 'Listen, I've been a closet gay this whole time.' And now it's a whole horrible, horrible situation of a wife and kids and a family that's being torn apart." I said, "Your son doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to hurt anybody." And I said, that was very, very good about him.
Well,
He
that's
doesn't want
why.
to hurt anybody. Yeah,
Well, that's why it's so
he's a good
easy
human
for.
being.
Well, and again, that brings me back to my whole other point. Is that that's why it's so important to show people and then again younger people as well, to let them know that it's okay to come out of the closet and be themselves and be gay and be lesbian, be transgender, be those things, because it would be terrible for them to live another life and then finally have the courage to come out when they're in their 40s or 50s or even their 60s, when they could have come out like when they were 15, 16, or the age of 10.
Well, what concerns me though about transgender is that there are a lot of doctors that are saying that we should, before we jump the gun with somebody who wants to become transgender, let's check and see if there's something else like depression that's really the problem. Because I told you about this friend of mine who was a receptionist for a psychiatrist, and she says a lot of his clientele were men and women who went through the actual operation of becoming transsexuals, where they physically changed their physically changed their sex, and those operations are irrevocable. And after they went through the operation, which of course the effects of which is totally irrevocable, they realized it was a mistake, that there was something else that was really an underlying condition that they didn't check into, because whatever doctor they went to was, oh yeah, was just so, anxious to go ahead and, acquiesce to their, to what they wanted, rather than, really checking in to see if there was something else that was happening. And I think we can't, we have to be very careful also not to jump the gun as far as this is concerned. And who knows, with these people who are transgender and going through whatever physical operations and conditions, hormone treatments, whatever they're going through, we don't know what the deleterious effects of these procedures are going to be years down the line.
See, and again, it's yeah, this is.
I don't think I think, like I said, this is, I think we began by saying there's probably no cut and dry answer to any of this.
No, it's not. We really came in with with nothing. We don't. I mean,
Listen, we explored a lot of ideas,
yeah.
and what can I say? How do you reconcile the Torah values with our interpersonal relationships
You
with
don't.
people
You
who are
don't
gay and lesbian?
reconcile
And
it.
you
You just put
can't
in little
reconcile. You
boxes.
just, like you said, you just accept them as human beings.
Yeah.
You said, avas chinam, just unconditional, that we just appreciate them for the human beings that they are.
That's all you can do. Just treat them like human beings, and you'd be surprised. Wow. Okay. This was an interesting session. If we pissed anybody off or threw anybody off the bus or made people unsubscribe, we do apologize. We were just trying to figure things out. That's all. We just wanted to have a conversation.
Now remember the old saying, it's better to keep your mouth shut and let people think you're a fool than to open it up and remove all doubt.
So now everyone thinks we're idiots, is what you're saying. Okay. All righty. That's fine. We'll end it here.
You have a good Shabbos, honey.
I'll have a good Shabbos. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye. Hi, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe and share. I really appreciate it, and my mother does as well.